Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Telling English Stories. I'm your host, Jack. I am so happy that you are joining me today to practice your English. Before we start, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you are moving into a new home. You carry the heavy boxes inside. You smell the fresh paint. Everything is new and exciting. But then you hear a strange sound coming from the ceiling. Would you go and look, or would you stay in the living room and ignore it? In today's episode, we are going to hear a story about a girl named Maya who makes a choice. She decides to look. But this isn't just a story, it's an English lesson. Today, we are focusing on two very important tools for your storytelling: descriptive adjectives and suspense. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to look at the screen, as I will highlight the key words for you. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep making these stories for you. Okay, let's talk about our focus for today. First, descriptive adjectives. Now, at a B1 level, you already know basic adjectives like big, small, or good. But to tell a great story, we need to be more specific. Instead of a big house, we might say an enormous house. Instead of a bad smell, we might say a foul smell. These words help your listener feel the story. Today, I want you to listen for words that describe how things look, feel, and even smell. Our second tool is suspense. Suspense is that feeling you get when you are waiting for something to happen. It's that, oh no, what's next feeling. In English, we create suspense by slowing down. We describe the small details, like a shaking hand or a creaky door, instead of telling you the ending immediately. Watch how I use these two tools in today's story, the attic door. The Miller family arrived at their new home on a gloomy, gray Saturday afternoon. The house was ancient. It sat at the end of a narrow street, surrounded by tall, tangled trees that seemed to lean toward the roof. To Maya's parents, the house was a bargain. It was cheap and spacious. But to 12-year-old Maya, the house looked menacing. "Come on, Maya," her mother called out with a cheerful voice. "Pick a room. There is so much space here." Maya stepped inside. The air was chilly and stale, as if no one had opened a window in 50 years. As she walked across the grand entrance hall, her footsteps made a hollow sound on the dusty floor. She decided to go as high as she could. She climbed the wooden stairs. Creak, creak, creak. Each step was a loud protest from the old wood. Finally, she reached the very top of the house, the attic. The attic was immense. It was filled with broken furniture and stacks of yellowed newspapers. The only light came from a circular window, showing the fading sunlight of the evening. Maya walked deeper into the room. At the very back, behind a heavy, dark curtain, she found it. A tiny door. It was made of solid iron, which was unusual for a house like this. It had no keyhole, only a shiny silver handle that looked brand new. Maya felt a cold breeze. It wasn't coming from the window. It was coming from the thin crack at the bottom of the iron door. And then she heard it, a faint scratching sound. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Her heart began to beat violently against her chest. This is the moment, listeners. This is the suspense. Her hand was clammy and shaking. She reached for the silver handle. The metal was ice cold. She turned the handle. Click. The door swung open with a sharp groan. Maya expected to see a closet or maybe some pipes. Instead, she found a narrow, windowless room. She stepped inside. The smell hit her first. It was foul. It smelled like rotten meat and damp earth. She pulled her shirt over her nose. She turned on her small flashlight. The beam of light hit the walls, and Maya's breath stopped. The walls were not made of wood or stone. They were covered, from the floor to the ceiling, in hundreds of glossy photographs. Maya moved the light slowly. Her eyes went wide. The first photo was of her father, taken 3 days ago while he was at work. The second was of her mother, sitting in their old kitchen. And then she saw the most recent photo. It was a clear, sharp image of Maya herself, taken only 10 minutes ago, from the perspective of the tangled trees outside. She wasn't alone. Someone had been watching her every move. Suddenly, the scratching sound started again, but it wasn't coming from the door. It was coming from under the floorboards right beneath her feet. A heavy thud shook the room. A thick black liquid began to leak from the corner of the ceiling. Maya let out a piercing, terrified scream. She didn't think. She didn't look back. She scrambled out of the secret room, her breath coming in short, jagged gasps. "Mom! Dad!" she shrieked, her voice shaky and high-pitched. She tumbled down the stairs, nearly falling. Her parents ran into the hallway, looking confused and worried. "We have to leave, right now." Maya grabbed her father's arm. Her grip was frantic. "There's someone in the walls. They have photos of us. We have to go." Her father looked at her pale, frightened face. He saw the pure terror in her eyes. He didn't ask questions. He grabbed the car keys. The family ran out of the menacing house, leaving their boxes and their furniture behind. As they drove away into the dark night, Maya looked back at the attic window. For a brief second, she saw a pale face watching them from the circular window. And then the light went out. Wow, that was a very intense ending. Let's take a breath together. Now, let's look at why that story felt so scary. We used our 2 tools. First, descriptive adjectives. Did you hear how I described the smell? I didn't say bad. I said foul. That makes you feel disgusted. I didn't say the house was old. I said it was ancient and menacing. These words create a mood. Let's review 3 key words from the story. First, frantic. This means doing something with a lot of fear and energy. Maya's movements were frantic because she was terrified. Second, glossy. This describes the smooth, shiny surface of the photos. It's a great word for photography. Third, piercing. We use this for a sound that is so loud it feels like it is cutting through the air, like Maya's piercing scream. Second, suspense. Do you remember when Maya was standing at the door? I spent a long time describing her shaking hand and the cold handle. I didn't tell you about the photos immediately. I made you wait. That is how you keep your audience engaged in English. That is all for today's episode of Telling English Stories. I have a question for you. If you found a secret room in your house, would you open the door? Tell me in the comments below, and try to use at least one descriptive adjective in your answer. If you enjoyed this lesson, please give this video a like. It really helps me create more content for you. I'm Jack. Thank you for listening, and keep practicing your English. I'll see you in the next story.